So this is the common slide that I quote every time, because our boss Dr. Raj says, if you don't know about the problem in the country, you can never reach to a solution. So incidence of cancer is 14.5 lakh, and everybody who is working for cancer care in the country, this is the most important data to remember. The prevalence is 42 lakhs, die because of cancer every year. 35 to 64 years of the age group, which is the most commonly affected. Tobacco-related cancers are around 40%, and 2/3 of the cases are diagnosed at the advanced stages. And if you take head and neck, all subsides, head and neck is the most common cancer among male in India. So this is the repetition of the slide what Dr. Pita has, and that doesn't show the copy of the slides, that sees how consistent we are in the science. So these are the risk factors. We have divided into two parts, established and emerging. Established is smoking, although many people debate about this, and most of the politicians, they don't find the reason how smoking is related to cancer, and especially head and neck cancer. But we have, as a clinician and the scientists, we know smoking has a direct relation in causation of head and neck cancer. Alcohol is with or without tobacco, viruses, diet, UV radiation, and emerging, which is oral health, oral microbiome, host genetic, and family history. So smoking, this is a slide which tells you how much you are at risk when you smoke and you don't drink. So these are the various forms of smoking, like cigarettes, pipes, and in India, most important is smokeless tobacco. There are more than 70 carcinogens, and 16 are the group 1 carcinogens, which causes cancer for the sure, as per the WHO IC monogram that has divided into the various type of carcinogens. And as the duration and the intensity of smoking increases, chances to develop the head and neck cancer increases along with that. Alcohol risk, you know how much you are at risk to develop head and neck cancer when you are alcoholic but you are not smoking. So this is a group 1 carcinogens, and everybody is well aware about the mechanism, how it acts, and you increase the duration and intensity, it again has a direct correlation in causation of head and neck cancer. So interaction between the smoking and alcohol. It is said that people do the bad work together. So if you smoke, most of the people take alcohol or vice versa. So it has a multiplicative interaction, and joint effect is much, much more higher than the individual effect. And I will show in one of my slides how dangerous it is when you mix smoking and alcohol together. South Asian problem, chewing of tobacco, and you know this is very variable in different part of the country also. There's a various form. If you go to Northeast, they use the tobacco in different form. In Delhi, this is different. UP, this is different. But certainly, these are the various study which has talked about the risk estimate if you take the little kit with or without tobacco. And there are plenty of studies. You not need to wait for the evidence that now we don't have any doubt that smoking doesn't cause cancer. So HPV, so many people talked about this thing. This is a graph which is showing HPV infection is important in 63% of the cancer of the oropharynx. And when you talk about the type of HPV, 16 and 18 is responsible for almost 95% of the cases of the CA oropharynx when it is due to the HPV. This is a causal model, sexual behavior, high-risk oral sex. They are risk 5 to 10 times to have the oral and oropharyngeal infection, and if you get the infection, you are 50 to 100 times more at risk to develop HPV-associated oropharyngeal cancer, and that has been already published in NEJM. So other is Epstein-Barr virus, which is common in India. In few parts of Northeast, they get very high number of nasopharyngeal cancer. If the serum marker it is positive, the chances to develop nasopharyngeal cancer is as high as 40 times. These are the other factors. This is again already shown by the Dr. Preetha ma'am. So I won't talk into the details. He has nicely covered this all issues. One thing is very coming up in the big way, that is the microbiome, which tells that it causes the chronic inflammation in the longer run, but it needs more studies to be done, and we are still waiting for the evidence to be proven on this fact. So this is the summary. This is again a very important slide. If you just want to calculate the risk, it will help you. If you smoke, you are at risk 5 times more than the normal individual. If you take alcohol twice, but if you combine together, the risk goes high as 25 times. Tobacco and metal questioning 5 to 10 times. Rare genetic orders, as mentioned, it's 100 times, and human papilloma virus 5 to 200 times. So this is how HPV has created a big thing in the Western world, because initially they used to get very less number of head and neck cancer, specifically oropharyngeal, but there's one place in Sweden, another in US, there is almost 225% increase in the HPV-associated oropharyngeal cancer, the same as with the Sweden. And there is a decrease is HPV negative oropharyngeal cancer. So natural history, this is the common normal mucosa, you are infected or any chronic irritation, you just precursor lesion like leukoplakia, erythroplakia, submucous fibrosis without dysplasia. But in 30% of the chances, it regresses come back to the normal mucosa because of the multifactorial reason, one of the defense mechanism, and progression to cancer when you have the dysplasia is very variable. In the next slide, these are the 14 studies that has been conducted in different parts of the world with a total 992 oral dysplasia and follow period by 1.5 to 9.3 years, and that has shown the variability. The progression to cancer was ranging from 0% to 36%, and the pool was 12.1%, and the rate at which the progression was seen was 1.73% per year. So coming to the important part, that is prevention, and we all know tobacco is the main thing. If you have to list 1 to 10 things related to prevention for the head and neck cancer, 1 to 10 will be filled by the tobacco-related factors. So this is the reduced risk visitation. In India, there's one study with the cola, they have beautifully mentioned, by the anti-smoking suggestion program, they managed to decrease the incidence of smoking by 26% in the male and 36% in the female. And if you want to equalize with the people who never smoke, you have to quit smoking for at least 20 years. So primary prevention, sir already talked about the HPV vaccination. We are unable to give vaccination to the cervical cancer, so we have to go a long way to decide about the vaccination for the oropharyngeal cancer. Secondary prevention, we have to give the treatment for the pre-malignant lesion so that it can't develop into the cancer. Early detection, that is the only way. But till date, we have only one randomized controlled trial by the Shankar. It was a cluster study. So this is published in Lancet. So that tells about this thing. There's no efficacy of screening on reduced incidence. There's a low efficacy of surgical intervention for pre-cancerous lesion. But screening helps you to detect the cancer at early stage, and if you detect the cancer at the early stage, there is a reduced oral cancer mortality. So based on these findings, but US Preventive Services Task Force recommendation is built, again negative for they don't advise to go for the oral visual examination. Maybe they don't see more of a tobacco as a risk factor, because now their concern is more of a oropharyngeal cancer and HPV related, so that might not be an issue. So cancer screening, oral cancer screening, screening of HPV associated oropharyngeal cancer, we don't have a definite guideline, and we don't practice much more. It's mostly restricted to our clinics. So based on the Shankar finding, Government of India came with a framework guideline for the common cancer. And for oral cancer, oral visual examination based on Shankar finding was placed in that, and the age of beneficiary was included by this 30 to 65%, and once a year. This is our recommendation for our country by Government of India, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. This is now coming to the social part. This is not a poster of a film that is going to release. This gives a very social message, and you need to understand in which direction we are going. This is the center is we are trying to protect the livelihood of the farmers who are engaged in the tobacco farming. And I think thanks to our brand ambassador of different Gutta company, they are just promoting this drive-by, but nobody thinks about the patient, that we are losing millions of patients on head and neck cancer due to this tobacco industries. This is another. This headline is a very good. What the hell is James Bond doing in Pan Masala ad? I couldn't find the answer. If anybody in the audience can find the answer and tell me, I will be very much pleased to listen to that answer. But I think James Bond is no more Bond by, after doing this advertisement, and this is very shocking for our who is working for the cancer care, because this all makes our job very difficult. Coming to our own fraternity, we must avoid doing conferences in ITC, because still ITC stands for Indian Tobacco Company. Although they also make the clothes, which is bills, but we have to wait for transformation that Indian Tobacco Company is converting into the Indian Textile Company. Till the time we have to take a pledge that we should not organize any conferences, because and the next one is very important. I could not understand the meaning of that advertisement of LIC, which is the most prominent life insurance which helps you post life, your family, Jindagi ke saath bhi and Jindagi ke baad bhi. When I came to this notice that LIC has the maximum share in ITC, which is against the government regulation, that you can't have the more than 15% share, and their share is 16.26%, then this ads makes very valid thing that they really help you with your life by providing you a smoking cigarettes, and they help you after the life also. This is a very crude way of cancer prevention. This is elimination. Man with cancer shoots dead colleague who introduced him to smoking in Delhi. This is not a good way, and we don't advocate it. But I think this is a very important message to tell. The people who smoke must remember the first person who introduced them to smoking. You never know what the time will come, and at the time you have to take the revenge. So with this word, I think this is enough for today. So I will summarize my talk. Substantial morbidity and mortality from head and neck cancer. This is a multifactorial etiology. Majority attributed to tobacco, alcohol and HPV. Primary prevention is a potential role, and we must advocate the behavioral modification, which is a key to success for any kind of prevention in a country like India, which we call resource constraint, but in AIDS we don't feel much about it. Additional work, secondary prevention, early detection is very much important. For that, we need to understand the natural history and molecular pathogenesis. We need to understand the screening modality. We have to develop the cost-effective on the India-centric cancer and treatment for the precursor. With this note, thank you very much. Although we are talking about head and neck cancer, but November is marked as Lung Cancer Awareness Month, which again smoking plays very important role. So with this slide, I request everybody to work and spread the message related to lung cancer. Thank you very much.